children learn what foods they're going to eat within the first 7 years of life. That's like the only instinct that we learn after we're born is the disgust instinct. For instance, some people, some cultures eat live worms and bugs and things, and other parts of the world that would disgust us because we never ate those as children. Are you familiar with any of that stuff? Can you talk on it a little bit?
That just seems like common sense. I mean, people, children eat what they're fed. And, to us, certain things seem disgusting that in other parts of the world are natural. And certainly to me, what Americans eat seems revolting. I walk down the aisles of a supermarket and I think, does anyone actually buy this in this aisle and this aisle? And, you walk to the meat section, it's awful. And it has a smell. So, I try not to buy anything within 20 meters of the meat section. It just seems common sense that people eat the way they're fed as small children, and that's why it takes a conscious effort of adults to figure out what we should be eating, and all the evidence is there. That's what my talk is trying to do, is to make people realize we can figure this out. We have figured this out. We have the science. We know what's healthy food, and we don't have to limit ourselves to what our parents fed us.
Thanks very much for that. And Ainsley is back with another follow-up. Welcome back, Ainsley. Oh, hang on. I didn't unmute you. My fault. Hi, Ainsley.
Yes, it is a tennis match between John McEnroe and Pete Sampras. But responding to Mike, biblically, if you want to become biblically, at the age of 7, a child knows what is right and what is wrong. That's why at the age of 7, most children do their first communion. Well, I am Catholic. Most children do their first communion. Well, in my country, we do our first communion when the child is 7 years old. That is when he or she knows right and wrong. But given what the parents do, which is incorrect, which is buying chicken nuggets and buying frozen cheap dinners, they learn the wrong thing. But at the age of 7, biblically, it's in the Bible somewhere, I'll have to look for it, the child knows what is right and what is wrong. Thank you.
Last year we had Melanie Joy speak. I don't know if you're familiar with her, her carnism, what she talks about, and that's obviously the disconnect. We don't say, "Ooh, I want to have a pig and eggs." We say bacon and eggs, or I don't want to have a cow on a bun. I want to have a burger. Like somehow we make this disconnect. I know that happened for me when I was eating meat. And it helped me pretend not to know what was really going on. Again, folks, we have just a few more minutes. If anybody else wants to raise their hand, please do. In the meantime, I'm wondering, can you tell me, Glenn, and if you can't, that's okay, but can you tell me how all of this between the factory farming and just people's diets are creating things like ocean dead zones? Is that something you can comment on?
Yeah, the ocean dead zones are created from the nitrogen runoff. The nitrogen is overused, the nitrogen fertilizers, often to grow grain to feed to animals. And this, as well as the other chemicals sprayed onto the land, wind up in the streams and rivers, and then ultimately in the oceans. So, it's just not natural what we're doing to the land. And you know how real estate agents will say to you, what do they say? Location, 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 right? That's how you judge, first thing they want you to judge in terms of a house. Well, when you judge what we're doing to the earth, you look at land use, land use, land use. How are we using the land? What are we doing to it? And so much more of the land and the earth is being destroyed for animal agriculture than, let's say, for coal mining. Coal mining, I'm not an apologist for coal mining. It's bad. But it's a small fraction of the land that we're misusing for animal agriculture, and the waters that we're misusing because of animal agriculture and the industrial fishing. That's where we're destroying the world, the planet. And so we need to focus on that instead of just assuming that it will always be that way because it's our culture.
Thanks very much for that. And now, Gretchen, who I see changed her name. Welcome back, Gretchen. What's your question for Glenn?
Yes. Have you ever done any research or understand why we allow the purchase of all the wrong things you've mentioned today, sodas, candies, chips, and I mean that are so bad for us? Why are they allowed to be purchased with government SNAP cards and you know, and then when the people get sick from lifelong consumption of those things, then government also has to pay to help them not be sick anymore, or go into the medical community and make them augment. I don't understand why this happens.
Well, and why do they serve meat and in hospitals? When people have heart attacks, then they have Salisbury steak as they're recovering. You know, the system is in America that all kinds of unhealthy foods are accepted, and they're considered food. They're part of our culture. And no matter how unhealthy they are, no matter if you're in a hospital recovering from a heart attack, they'll give you the food in your hospital bed that caused your heart attack. And so we will pay government subsidies for meat and dairy and for unhealthy snacks. The government does not care what's really in the interest of human health. They're just not in that business. They're not operating from those principles. And you know, you can say it's corrupt, or you can just say it's unthinking. It's the culture they're part of. But clearly, we can't rely on the government, and clearly, we can't rely on our leading experts in the government to tell us what to do. We have to, you know, through conferences like this and through our own reading, learn to do the right thing and spread the message.
Thanks for that, Glenn. And Mike is back. Welcome, Mike.
Mike is back.
I'm back.
Yeah.
And I love what you said a moment ago about land use, Glenn, because again, kind of a religious bent to it. The Creator gave man dominion over the earth. Dominion does not mean that we own it. It means that we're trustees for it. And we should be caring for the earth as it cares for us. And so land use is a big part of that. What right do any of us as trustees, if you will, you know, having dominion, have the right to, you know, raise animals solely for our own use and our own benefit, our own food? So it's not really a comment, but I just want to add that in there, because I think it's important that we remain vigilant, that we're not owners of this place. We're here until we become ashes and ashes and dust to dust like ourselves.
I can't disagree. So we have to take the broad view of the planet and realize that we're not the only species upon it. And, you know, it's even in our self-interest to realize, you know, if we lose the whales, that's bad for us. You know, if we lose the birds, that's bad for us. So we have to care for the planet, even if we're only concerned about ourselves. We have to care for biodiversity. We have to care for the health of the streams and the waters. We have to care for the forests, even if we're being selfish about it.